Hello, hello. Woohoo! Yeah, I hear a rumor that you guys have, hey, how are you? I hear that you guys have had a pretty good week. Is that right? Very cool. God is so good, is he not? Here's what I love about this theme. You ready for it? Rest. You've heard it all week, right? I mean, we walked through Psalm 23, we looked at different stories about how the Lord is our shepherd, we shall not be in want. If you have heavy burdens and are weary in some way, shape, or form, and to cast all your cares on him, why? Because he will provide. We just sing it. The Lord has it. He has your life. The only thing that you and I need to learn to do is rest. Why? Rest because your shepherd will shelter you for the rest of your life. How many of you like home? I love home. You know why I like home? I get to be me. I have a disability that's pretty obvious. And whenever I'm in public, I get stared at everywhere I go. I mean, I know I'm good looking, but come on. But people stare at me. It's uncomfortable. And my insecurity is this. I want to be a perfectionist. I want to prove to people that I'm not stupid, that I'm not weak, and that I'm not a freak. And it just exhausts me. And so whenever I go home and enter my actual house, it becomes a shelter for me. Why? Because I get to just be me. No more stairs. No more trying to prove myself to people that I'm worth it. It's hard. So, I don't know what you came here this week with, the burdens that you may carry, but we're on that number 4. And tomorrow, you and myself, we go home. And when we go home, you know what's going to be there? The exact thing that you left when you came here the first day of MIX. It's still going to be there. Your struggles, my struggles. I like what it says in Psalm 23, verse 6. It says, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever. I love carpenters. I have a friend who is a cabinet maker, and that's all he does. And I like going into his workshop. You know why? You'll laugh at me. Because my favorite smell, or one of my favorite smells in the whole world, is, you're gonna laugh, is the smell of sawdust. I love the smell of sawdust. You know why? Because I know that something is being built. Sawdust is a remnant of what's going on, what's being created, what's being crafted. I would like to go write in my friend's workshop, and as I write, it's going to motivate me to write my book, because as I write, I smell sawdust. And what does that mean for me? I'm creating. God created you, student, out of the dust of the earth. So when I look at you, you know what I just saw? Saw dust. Because I saw you, but you were made of dust. You saw dust. And what's he doing? He's crafting something in you, in me. Life isn't easy for me. How many of you were here 2 years ago when I spoke? You remember what happened? What? I fell. I took a bad spill. It was right out here on the sidewalk. I haven't been back here since. And today, when Avery pulled up, he parked right on the start, the place where I fell. He parked the van. I said, you know where we are? Where? The place where I fell 2 years ago. This is it? This is it. And I cracked my head open. I was rushed to the hospital. I had 6 stitches. I have a scar to prove it to this day. I'm all better. But as we look at this week, we've looked at pastures, we looked at valleys, we looked at wilderness, and tonight I want to look at the shoreline because I love the beach. Why? Because it's a sense of home for me. Arizona is all beach and there's just the water, but it's home. Tomorrow you go home. You go home with the burdens you carried when you got here on the first day of MIX of this week. But maybe as you go home, something is going to be different. I like home, as I mentioned. I like knickknacks. I'm not married, so I live on my own, and my house is, let's just say I am domesticated. It's clean. I have friends that say your house looks like a museum, it's spotless. That's because I was raised by a mom who always kept our home clean growing up, and it just took effect on me. So in my home, I have knickknacks. One of them is a picture of this staff. The Lord is my shepherd. I found out what a shepherd has a staff. A friend made that for me out of alligator wood. I never heard of it before. It's heavy. It's a walking stick, but I don't use it for walking. I use it for decor. It looks awesome in my house. And then the next picture to this is a picture of a drawing. I was speaking at a camp, and a month later in the mail, I got this picture of a girl holding a rabbit. And it was by a camper who heard me speak, and that's all penciled. And I loved it so much that I framed it. So in my home, over the years, I've collected knickknacks from places that I've gone to speak. Why? Because they're reminders that God has me. He has Simning. He has my disability. He has my struggles. He has my burdens. And still, when you go home tomorrow, He has you. He knows what He's doing. You're the apple of His eye. You are sawdust because He's still creating something incredible in your life. And it's fresh. And it's new. I have a question for you. So as we look at that, I want to look at Luke 6. Luke 6 talks about this idea of builders. Luke 6 verse 46 says this, "So why do you keep calling me Lord, Lord, when you don't do what I say? I will show you what it's like when someone comes to me, listens to my teaching, and then follows it. When they do that," verse 48, it's like a person building a house who digs deep and lays the foundation on solid rock. And when the flood waters rise and break against that house, what happens? It stands firm. Why? Because it was well built. But anyone who hears and doesn't obey is like a person who builds a house without a foundation. And what happens when that happens? Well, when the flood sweeps down against that house, it will collapse into a heap of ruins. What are you building for yourself? Scripture just says that a wise builder is one who digs deep. and lays the foundation on solid rock. Still, when you leave this place tomorrow, think about your life. What are you investing in? What are you building in your life? How are you resting in the comfort of your shepherd? Because he wants to shelter you. He wants to protect you. He wants to bring something amazing out of your life. But it's about trust. It's about rest. Do you rest in with what you have? I struggle with that, student. I get frustrated with my disability. I don't like being reminded that I'm weak. When I fell here 2 years ago, and I still spoke, by the way, that night with stitches in my forehead, I actually bled while I was speaking. But inside, I was crushed. You know why? Have you ever heard of PTSD? I had post-traumatic stress disorder because of that, because this is why. Here's a picture of me. Do you know what that is in front of me? It's called a typewriter. I was born with fine motor cerebral palsy, but it was so mild that the only thing that it affected about me was I shake in my hands. And so back then, they created this machine called the typewriter, and that's how I wrote all my schoolwork out. And still to this day, I can't write with a pen or pencil. I call my penmanship my scribbles, because it's just all everywhere. And then here's the next picture of me, my yearbook photo. Look at my head. It's all crooked. You know why I like middle school students? Because that's really when my life changed. You know why my head is crooked? That's my freshman picture in high school. In 8th grade, I went to bed just like you. I was a lot better looking than you, but I was just like you. I talked like you talk, so I could outrun you. I was a fast kid in my school, probably one of the fastest. I love life. The only thing that was different about me is I trembled in my hands and I had to type everything. That was it. I was athletic. I was all that. I go to bed in 8th grade. I wake up that next morning, and out of the blue, I stood up that morning, and my head fell forward, and I couldn't lift it back up. And after going to doctors, after about 2.5 months, 3 months, I was diagnosed with what you see now. And it's called torsional dystonia. And it's the twisting of my torso. It's why I walk the way I do. I can't run anymore, but I can skedaddle. But that's about it. Because my torso twists, my vocal cords twist with it. That's when I started to get teased. That's when it started to be bullied. And so I hated who I was. And as we look at this week, this word rest, I need it in my life. You know what rest means to me? Trusting in what God has for me. And not looking to other people to compare where my life is versus where their life is. I need to rest. Why? Because the shepherd will shelter me when I rest, because he wants to do that for the rest of my life. What's number 2? How are you finding ways to lead a life fully that's healthy in your life? Because Luke says there's a wise builder built on a solid foundation, but there's also a builder who doesn't work without a foundation. And when that happens, once they're building, when tragedy hits or a storm strikes, everything collapses into a heap of ruins. Next picture is this. My senior year of high school, I can no longer walk. My condition got bad, so from 8th grade to my 12th grade year, I didn't see a better day. I fell down quite a bit back then. And when I became a senior in high school, between my junior and senior year that summer, I lost all my mobility, and now people were dressing me, they were bathing me, and now I was confined to a wheelchair, and I couldn't walk. And luckily, I had people in my life that loved me anyway. The next picture is this. I'm in a tuxedo there. That's why. I was asked to go to the prom. She's beautiful, right? Woo, woo, woo! I had a pusher. I called them my pushers. I know that sounds weird, but I had people that would push me from one class to the other class in high school. I had 6 classes every day, and a different student would push me from first to second, second to third, and he pushed me from 5th to 6th. And one day as he's pushing me to my next class, he says, I have a question. What is it? She's been pushing me for about 8 months at this point. Will you go to the prom with me? You know what I told her? No. I know, right? You know why I told her no? I was insecure. You don't want to go with somebody like me. You're too beautiful. I can't dance. I can't dance with you at that prom. Go with somebody like a football player, somebody that can dance with you and you can enjoy it. But I'm asking you. So I went. We didn't dance. Of course, I'm in the wheelchair, but she took me on the dance floor. Ooh, we boogied. She rocked my wheelchair back and forth as if we were dancing. She spun me in 360s. She even popped wheelies. It was awesome. When you leave this place, what are you building into your life that will last? How are you going to live your life to the fullest? How are you finding that way to do that? Home. You go home tomorrow. You know what I like about Luke, the story that I read tonight? It talks about 2 different types of builders. One that was wise and built on a solid foundation, and he was prepared because he did that. The other one was not so prepared, and he just built something without a foundation. And what strikes me about this story is that both builders had the same tools. This week you've been given the same tools. How are you going to use it? Student, I want you to rest. Don't fall asleep. I want you to trust in this good shepherd that we have that wants to lead us. Because he talks about us dwelling in his house forever and ever. And he's building us up like living stones to be a holy priesthood, so to speak. He wants us to be examples to other people about his truth and his love. A lot of you out there, you wrestle with a lack of confidence. A lot of you deal with self-image. A lot of you think that you're not good enough. I've been there. I still struggle with that to this day. When I fall down, it brings back memories. When I fell down here 2 years ago, that's why I'm telling this story, because it happened here, I was sad. Because it reminded me of being in a wheelchair. And I was stressed out that because I had that bad fall, that's where I was going to go back to. I have to be careful with how I walk. I have to look at the ground now. I have to look at where my foot is going the next step. I have to concentrate. I have to focus on things that you guys take for granted. I love my life. Yes, it's difficult. But you know that God asked me why? Because He's a good shepherd. And He's leading me. And He surely wants to lead you too. He has this. He will provide for you. And my last question to you is this. Where will you dwell? Where will you choose to dwell? I choose to rest in the house of my God. The last two pictures I'll show you of my life story are this. I went from a push wheelchair to a motorized one. That's where I'm sitting in right there. If you ever get a chance to ride a motorized wheelchair, they're a blast. That went 8 miles an hour. It was awesome. I mean, to be confined to it, that's one thing, but to try it out and test drive it, whoop, there you go. I'll wear a hat because that picture was taken at Wheelchair Olympics. And the last picture I'll show you is me at a swim meet. God used swimming as therapy that I didn't think would ever amount to anything. I just wanted to be involved in swimming with other people who had disabilities. And what is that community? In 2.5 years of being involved in that, I began to get mobile. They began to stretch my arms and my legs. They began to stand me up in the water and hold my arms out in front of me. And slowly but surely, I would take steps in the water, not on the water, but in the water. And later on land, and people held on to me, I could somehow manage to move my legs. And though, behold, I'm walking. Not the best, but I'm getting from point A to point B. And so are you. Because you have this shepherd that wants you to rest. He wants you to trust. He wants you to calm down, be quiet, be still. Know that He is God. He has this to you. I tell people I'm healed, and I love their expressions. Healed? You're not healed, look at you. You know what I tell them? You're not healed either, look at you. Because you can see my disability, it's obvious. I can't see your disability. Some of you are struggling. You have burdens that you're carrying. And it's exhausting. And tomorrow you go home. You go back to your physical shelter where you reside. If you have Jesus in your life, He resides right here. And He just wants you to rest. Because through the trials that you deal with, he's working something out. That sawdust is falling out the floor. You're a work in progress. Will you rest in the comfort of your Savior? Rest in it. Because he has you. He has this. When you go home tomorrow, remember this truth. Rest, because your shepherd will shelter you for the rest of your life if you just trust him with it. Amen? God, thank you for tonight. God, thank you for these students. I ask that, Lord, you would be with our journey home tomorrow. But Lord, that you would help us understand that home is not a physical dwelling as much as it is, more so, a spiritual house that you're building within our hearts. You're working something in us. I smell the sawdust. It's all over the floor. You're making something amazing, something beautiful. We may not see it now, but we will one day. So as these students take their lives with them and go home to trials that they deal with, I pray, Lord, that they would remember to rest, meaning trust, knowing that you have a plan for their life, and they can rest in that comfort and truth. In Jesus'